Authenticity, it's an interesting phenomenon because for the most part, no one really desired to be authentic in our human community. You were to follow the laws of your culture, the laws of your tradition, because you don't really want to become an outcast, because then you'll be forced into the desert and there is nothing out there for you. There are no narratives. You can't be psychologically nourished. And no one really desired to have like an original or authentic experience. All you want to do is just go to the mosque or a temple, sit and read a book or pray, go to the campfire and listen to someone tell a story for you to be mesmerized, to be inspired. But this feeling that you need to be original, you need to be unique, you need to stand out, it didn't really exist for the longest time. The other aspect of it had to do with the fact that if I love you and if you love me and if we have a life together, you don't really have a need, and you like that life, you don't really have a need to go out there and start a fling. Add to it the fact that the culture kind of makes sure you don't cross certain lines. And the culture is set up in a way where you don't ask certain questions. Like you don't look at your husband and say, do I really love him? It doesn't exist. What you are really looking for is a life that's solid. And your skin is thick enough to kind of just wrestle with the difficulties of life as best as you can. Something I think happened to all of us, especially the Western world, around the 19th or so century. If you consider what has happened to us in the past 200 years, we've been around for a few million years, human beings have. But the last 100 years have been extraordinary. The things we have created, invented. If you put together all the inventions of the past couple million years, it won't even come close to what human beings have done. Not human beings as us, but those who have been innovative and creative in the tech world. The way we do architecture now, we do buildings now, the sort of stores we have now, it's amazing, it really, really is. But in the course of creating such vast cities, something happened to our tradition, something happens to you as a person of color, as an immigrant, where there is a culture that dominates you. Let's just say in America, the white culture dominates you. As a person of color, you feel filthy. You feel less than human. You have to prove yourself. You're devalued. You want to be white because it is a symbol of cleanliness. It's a symbol of being civilized. It's a symbol of purity. Just being a person of color is a demeaning place to be in life. And it only happens when you're forced out of your own community. And I think for the longest time, human beings knew where they belong. If they're a Muslim or a Buddhist, if they're a man or a woman, if they're a black or white, whatever. And religion still had power over us. You didn't really want to come out and say, I want to be unique, I want to be the next Steve Jobs. But as culturally, we kind of made changes to the social spheres and then the political spheres, and then those impacted the human psyche. And then the nature of advertisement began to change, and we slowly became hollowed from inside out. In other words, you look at your life, the things that used to give you meaning no longer do. And you're desperately walking around, you go on a hike to figure out what exactly it is that you want to do with your life, and there is nothing. You want to believe in something. You want to believe in a marriage. You want to believe in parents. You want to believe in yourself. You want to believe in religion. You want to believe in school, but there is nothing out there that you can latch onto. But there is this idea that's floating around that I want to be authentic. I want to be unique. I want to see my soul come out. I want to make sure that my job is an expression, an extension of my soul. And these are things that people never really desired. And if you look at the human being as he or she stands today, I don't really know if there is anything that we are able to believe in. I'd like to get married, but I don't have a culture that supports that narrative. I want to fall in love, but I don't have a past that supports it. I want to be educated. I just don't know if it's for my pocket or for my mind or for my heart. I want to belong to a community. I just don't know if I really want to hang out with anyone. And if I was to hang out with people, I don't really know what sort of conversations I would want to have with them. I like to read a book. I just don't know what book I'm interested. And there is this idea that's floating around these days that you should be unique, you should be authentic, your life should belong to you. And you look at, there's a layer of you that is, you look yourself in the mirror, it's the only body you've known for the past like 25 years. Your physical reflection is you. It's a certain part of you. And that you can't escape. And just in case I wake up in the morning and I look myself in the mirror and one side of my face is up, the other is down because I had a stroke and I wasn't aware of it. I am so connected to my physical body and my physical appearance that there's a good chance I'm going to call my boss and say, I don't want to come to school because it's going to take some time for me to adjust to this new physical form. And I don't want to come to class and have you guys look at me in a strange way. And of course, I know that most of you will be respectful enough to kind of just look at me the same way you've always looked at me the past 14, 15 weeks. There is that one layer, and I don't know how to get rid of that layer and say, you know what, I am not my physical body. And there is this authenticity to me that is not connected to my physical body. Then there is the emotional layer to me. Feelings come and go. They can come to class, I can make you feel bad, 10 minutes later, the whole thing is forgotten. I didn't really make much of an impression except that that 5 minutes, that's it. Emotions are historical. I am 60, you're like 30 almost. You have 30 years of history inside you. And that history not only has joy, it also has sorrows. And whoever you are, whatever that comes out of your mouth, whatever poetry you write, whatever relationships you get into, whatever you define your friendships to be, they are an extension of that history. I don't know how you can remove that particular layer and say, I want to be authentic. Who are you without that history? I don't really know. Because to some extent, authenticity means that, and I'm not talking about you and I getting together, you feel comfortable with me, I feel comfortable with you, where you begin to share your history with me and I begin to share my history with you. I mean, that's gossip. There is nothing wrong with that. It's a nice way to have a relationship where you trust me enough and I trust you enough, where we sit and we reveal oneself to another. And it's a great place to be. It's like a therapy session between two friends who trust each other and who like each other and who love each other. That's wonderful. It's not authentic, I don't think. But if you want to chalk it up to, well, most often I talk about issues that have no relevance to me, but they're just nice conversations to have. But once in a while, I find a certain community of people where I can really just come out and be myself. Well, in that sense, what you are is, for the first time, you feel comfortable enough to come to my office and say, listen, I want to tell you something. And it means that there is enough comfort, there is enough trust, and there's enough even passion or love where you say, this is where I stand. Then there is this psychological layer to us. I mean, emotions have a history, and those emotions have to do with, like, you have an emotional history with me. There may come a point where you have a psychological narrative about all instructors, all teachers. They're all manipulative. They're all power hungry. They're all attention greedy. And it doesn't matter if you're at Laney or Stanford or Yale or Princeton, none of those things matter. Psychological narrative of who and what you are really is like one of the core roots, fundamental roots of what makes Ariana Ariana. It's like, my brother-in-law, who's married to my sister, and they have two beautiful kids. He was in the Iraq-Iran war, and he was in a bunker. His bunker mate, his roommate, told him, listen, today will be my last day. Tomorrow I will go back to the city and spend the rest of my life with my parents and my wife and my kids. Since tomorrow is going to be my last day, why don't you just go, take a break from the bunker life. Just go out there, have a good time, come back tomorrow. I'll give you a break. He says, fine. That very night, Iraq throws a bomb, that bunker gets destroyed, his friend dies. He never talks about it. I mean, being in the Iran-Iraq war was a horrible place to be. 1 million people died, both sides. It was 8 years. I mean, that's a traumatic experience. It's like your parents divorced at the age of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and it just lives like cancer inside you. And it's so powerful that it really destroys everything that you touch. It's like The triple bypass I had, I was talking to my brother this morning. You know, there is this story about Abraham Maslow. He had a stroke, he recovered, he's on a walk, his wife is on the balcony looking at him, and he's been told that he should walk on a daily basis, and he's doing so. All of a sudden, he falls to the ground and dies. And so the idea that just a couple months ago, I had my triple bypass, and I need to go on a walk every day for at least 45 minutes. It's like imprinted in my brain that I am not as healthy as I think myself to be, that at any time life could be taken from me. So that's a traumatic experience that whatever I touch, wherever I go, and it's a conversation I had with my wife yesterday, which is, listen, I feel death very closely. You know, it's there with me all the time. And because of that, my relationship to time is different. My relationship to age is different. My relationship to who I want to hang out with is different. How much time I want to spend with people is different. Everything has changed now. And so it doesn't matter if you take me to Hawaii or if you say, you know what, we're going to spend the next few weeks in Oakland. My approach to life is going to be the same because the trauma is never going to go away. Now, by trauma, I don't mean it has to be negative. It could be very educational if you know how to use it well. And so there is this layer to us that is profoundly psychological. And if by authenticity you mean all of a sudden getting to a place like tabula rasa, that the politics of life has been deleted from your soul, and the social forces of life have also been deleted from your soul, and your personal experiences have also been deleted from your soul, and you don't have to use a religious language to this. By authenticity, the way I think of it is, you go back to the Garden of Eden. Society has no longer any power over you. Politics has no power over you. Your past has no power over you. Your traumas have no power over you. Your passions about future have no power over you. The trauma of the past have no power over you. You're just like a blank slate. And now you say, I want to write my own life. I don't know how anyone can get rid of all these layers so they can rise up and say, I want to be the author of my own destiny. I think the best we can do is, you read Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice? If you haven't, the shortcut is watch the movie that came out, I don't know, in the 1990s. So we're talking about a class system. You have someone who's really wealthy, and you have someone, a family, not wealthy, not middle class, but maybe lower than middle. And so at the top of the food chain is Mr. Darcy. You know, he's handsome, he's rich, he sculpts, he writes, he thinks, he reads. People at the lower class, they have to just work from the moment they wake up to the time to go to sleep. But Mr. Darcy goes to this place with one of his friends, and he falls in love with this, he looks at this girl, and it's something we talked about in this class plenty of times. As he's walking to sit at this table where only the nobles sit, his head turns to the right, and there is this girl. What's her name? Keira Knightley or something? And she is gorgeous, she's attractive, and he looks at her, and he kind of just gets fixated for only a few minutes, but he's high class, you know, he can't give himself away like that. And certainly, like the Indian caste system, you can't fall in love or be interested in someone who's lower than you. And so he kind of just puts himself back together and tries not to give her too much attention. She's also a little puzzled because he's given her a look, and she's also moved a little by who and what he is. There is like this explosion inside Mr. Darcy. Now, you can't get of the fact that you are a human being and magic happens without you wanting magic to happen. You're simply attracted. You know, you can walk away, you can drop the class, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. The attraction is there. But Mr. Darcy, for him to express his authentic feeling that has nothing to do with social class, that has nothing to do with wealth, that has nothing to do with being a man or a woman, that has nothing to do with your idea of what it means to be poor, what it means to be rich. What Darcy needs to do is to rebel against this idea that social class actually means something. How could someone have nothing and you, being a king, be attracted to someone who's so poor? How could you lower yourself like this? So he has to fight against the social conditioning, the class conditioning, the political conditioning, all of his own ridiculous assumptions. And at a certain point, he breaks the chains and he goes to this woman and says, will you dance with me? I suppose that's authentic, that you have to overcome so many fears, so many assumptions. And she says yes. And I don't know if you guys know much about the life story of Nietzsche. Nietzsche hung out with this one young woman, her name was Matilda. On their second date, he looks at her and says, marry me. She says no. And then he begins to write all these nasty things about her. Time passes, and he runs into this other young woman, I think her name is Louise Salome, if I'm not mistaken. On their first date, he looks at her and says, will you marry me? And she says no. You know, it's not like today where you go out for like years, and then you say, will you marry me? And the person says, of course not. You know, it's been fun, but I don't want to marry you. And I say this because Pride and Prejudice falls in the same time period where they touch hands as they're dancing, they gaze into each other, their bodies are very, very closely situated, and they part ways. And this young woman has, you know, a number of sisters. Anyways, this younger sister, older sister, goes to his friend's house, and she says, I want to go visit my sister who's sick. So she goes there. Once she opens the door, something very strange happens to Mr. Darcy. He has to again overcome his social class, his status. The moment she walks in, he stands up to greet her. And everybody's like puzzled, what are you doing? That's another authentic expression, that something about you is instinctual, it's intuitive. You don't know why, but you like someone. You don't know why, but that liking of someone forces you to stand. Not so much to respect the person you love, but to respect the emotions that live inside you. And those emotions say, God damn it, stand up, you're nobody. In the presence of love, you're reduced to ash. Stand up. Authenticity, being true to oneself. It's difficult to be true to oneself. There are really so many things to overcome. You know, those who spoke about authenticity, let me just say some nasty things about them, because I think they deserve it. Martin Heidegger, Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, Simone de Beauvoir, Frantz Fanon, people in privilege. You know, it's like Donald Trump. All these politicians telling the rest of us, sacrifice for your country. I don't really mind sacrificing if I know people on the top are sacrificing as well. You know, I was talking to my wife this morning as I was walking around the campus. It is such a dirty campus. If the president or the chancellor send us an email saying, you know, we want to clean this place up, but that means 5% cut from everybody's salary. Everybody. Those who make over, the chancellor, the deans make over 200,000. The chancellor makes almost $500,000. You know, those who get paid over 150, they'll pay 15%. The rest of us puny people will pay 5%. I wouldn't mind doing it. But for someone who's making billions of dollars, telling the rest of us, you know, you should, sacrifice a little. Jean-Paul Sartre has the privilege of sitting in a coffee shop for 5 hours writing a book, telling the rest of us how to live our lives. Friedrich Nietzsche becomes a professor at the age of 24. Jesus Christ, who's got no mouths to feed, tells the rest of us that we should pursue the kingdom of God. The only, I think, person who has any right to talk about authenticity is Moses or Muhammad, who say, listen, life is tough. You don't need to go to the mountains and figure out who the hell you are. You are a reflection of your social environment. If you really want to know who you are, see if you can take care of your mom. See if you can take care of your dad. See if you can pay for your kid's sister's school. If you have that generosity inside you.